Hello everyone and welcome to Holistic Healing with Deepshika. Today we are talking about a topic that's deceptively simple yet profoundly transformative, the art of listening. Now I know that when we talk about listening, some of us might think, of course I listen. I hear people all the time. But here's the thing, there's a world of difference between you hearing words and truly listening to understand. In our fast-paced lives, we often confuse these two, and in doing so, we miss out on the depth of connection and understanding that real listening can bring. There is a famous saying by Stephen R. Covey. Most people do not listen with the intent to understand. They listen with the intent to reply. So today I'm going to try and speak about the difference between hearing and listening and how it affects our life and relationships, way more than we realize. To start, what is hearing? Hearing is a passive process. It's the physical act of sound waves entering our ears and being processed by the brain. We hear all kinds of sounds every day. Traffic, music, people talking. But that doesn't necessarily mean we are engaged or understanding. Listening, on the other hand, is active. It requires conscious attention, empathy, and effort to truly understand what's being communicated. When we listen, we are not just processing words, we are absorbing the emotion, the meaning, and the intent behind those words. It's about focusing not just on what is being said, but why and how it's being said. Now, coming to the next part. Why is listening so crucial? Well, listening allows us to truly connect with others, to form deeper, more meaningful relationships, and to foster an environment of trust. When we are genuinely listened to, we feel valued, understood, and respected. It's a gift we can give to each other every day, and yet so often we fall short. Unfortunately, it is a fact that we often listen to respond rather than listen to understand. In our conversations, especially in moments of conflict or disagreement, we are often already formulating our next argument in our heads, rather than fully absorbing what the other person is saying. We get so busy in our own head that we simply cannot see what the other person is really trying to tell us. Yes, I say see, because I believe that communication is not just the act of listening, but it also involves looking at the other person to understand the meaning behind his or her words. The approach where we are only concentrating on the words to find a comeback not only leads to misunderstandings but also deepens divides, whether it's personal relationships, workplaces, or broader societal conversations. The question, of course, now is, what are the barriers that often get in the way of us communicating? The first is our own assumptions. Sometimes we assume we already know what someone is going to say. We may cut them off or interpret their words through our own biases, missing their true message. Many a times these assumptions may be based on our past experiences and be totally unrelated to the person or the situation that we are presently in. Next is distractions. In our technology-driven world, distractions are everywhere. Checking our phones, glancing at a watch, or multitasking can not only make us miss the essence of the conversation, but is also disrespectful and communicates to the other person that you are not interested. Another barrier are our emotional triggers. Certain words or topics may evoke strong emotions in us, causing us to tune out or become defensive rather than open and understanding. And lastly, many of us are conditioned to think about what we'll say next instead of genuinely focusing on the speaker's message. This approach limits our ability to truly understand their perspective. These are few things that affect our ability to listen. And how do we improve the quality of our conversations? Simple, by addressing these barriers. Now let me enlist a few simple steps that can be followed. First is practice active listening. Active listening means being fully present in the moment. Put down your phone, maintain eye contact, and show that you are engaged. Personally, I think this is one of the things that affect me the most when having a conversation with someone. On the other hand, simple gestures like nodding or leaning slightly forward can show that you're paying attention and value to what's being shared. Next is asking clarifying questions. Don't assume anything. If there is something that you don't like or don't understand, ask a direct question, and more often than not, the other person will willingly address your questions. Asking for clarity simply allows for deeper exploration of thoughts and feelings, which is invaluable in fostering connection. Avoid interrupting. I know there can be exciting circumstances or conversations where you cannot help but respond or interrupt the other person. And in fact, I am guilty of doing this quite frequently. But a lot of conversations and situations require that we give the speaker room to share without interjecting. Even if we feel the urge to respond, wait until they have finished, because a lot of times the conversation isn't about you alone. If you listen carefully, you might realize the fears and insecurities, the true emotions hidden behind the words. And this, of course, does not mean you can't express your perspective. It just means allowing the other person the chance to fully share theirs first. Acknowledging emotions can make people feel seen and heard, even if they are struggling to articulate exactly how they feel. It is also important to understand when to say what. If you try to tell a person who is angry that they need to calm down or shouldn't let a certain situation affect them, the chances are that you are now in serious danger. But if you only wait for that person to calm down and then express your views, the chances of the other person understanding are much more. Another aspect is reflective listening, where you validate from the speaker what they're saying. It is one of the easiest ways to correct any misunderstandings before they deepen. And lastly, I think I should have covered this first: suspend judgment. Listening without judgment means being open to the speaker's perspective, even if it differs from your own. Avoid labeling their experience as right or wrong. Instead, approach it with curiosity. Withholding judgment is very important to create a safe space for people to be vulnerable and share openly, which deepens trust and understanding. A lot of times, the moment someone shares something with us, we start thinking about how to fix the situation, scenario, or event. But it is very important to resist the urge to fix. Sometimes, people just want to be heard, not given solutions. Instead of jumping in with advice, offer a supportive listening ear. If they ask for advice, then you can offer it. Otherwise, your role as a listener is to empathize, not fix. This can be especially challenging when we care about someone and want to help. But remember, sometimes the best support we can give is simply to listen. So what happens when we practice true listening? The benefits are profound and far-reaching. Listening is an attitude of the heart, a genuine desire to be with another, which both attracts and heals. By L.J. Ishmael. Listening strengthens relationships by fostering trust, understanding, and respect. People feel safe to share their thoughts and emotions when they know they won't be judged or interrupted. When we listen actively, we are less likely to make assumptions or misunderstand the speaker's intent. This leads to clearer communication and more productive conversations. Listening allows us to step into someone else's shoes and see the world from their perspective. It broadens our understanding and helps us relate to others in a more compassionate way. By practicing the skill of listening, we learn to quiet our own inner chatter and biases. We become more mindful, present, and aware. Listening helps us navigate disagreements with empathy and patience. When both parties feel heard, they are more likely to find common ground and resolve conflicts constructively. Listening is one of the most underrated superpowers we possess. It's a tool that can bridge divides, heal wounds, and build bridges. Remember, listening is one of the most precious gifts you can give to the people in your life. If a person feels listened to, it is more than a sign of their words being heard. It is a sign of respect, and it can make people feel valued. Listening is an art that requires attention over talent, spirit over ego, others over self. Thank you for joining me on today's episode. I hope it inspires you to pause, listen, and embrace the power of true connection. Until next time, stay open, stay curious, and keep growing. Thank you.